Good morning everyone and welcome back to the cottage. It's autumn here now and we're about a week and a half into autumn, and although we've had some lovely sunny days, the weather has been much cooler. We've had a bit of a polar blast come up from Antarctica and the weather has been fairly cool, but the days are beautiful all the same. As you can see, the sun's out. We're getting towards the end of the growing season. We have a fairly short growing season here at Woodbridge Hill. Due to the altitude, we're up about 500 metres above sea level. So we have to make the most of the next couple of weeks and harvest what we have growing. Well, I neglected to put the net over this garden bed last night, and some little creatures have taken advantage of my mistake. And as you can see, they have a real liking for the beetroot, and they've nibbled the tops of the beetroot. They'll come back, they'll be fine. And the lettuces. And of course they've left the marigolds alone.
Good morning everyone. Again, autumn here, so just doing a bit of tidying up and planting the garden. Everything is coming to an end really, and mainly the vegetables, so we'll be busy in the next few weeks fixing the garden beds up for winter and getting them ready for spring. I'm just planting some variegated fuchsias that Alison has propagated earlier on this year. I'll just pop them in here at the moment, just finding a little spot for them, and hopefully they'll grow well. Someone planted a very big bean in the wrong spot. Planted in the wrong spot anyway. Maybe it's it's actually got a nice bean, a couple of beans on it.
Well, we've almost reached the end of the season for the peas here. They're starting to yellow and whittle away there. So what we're going to do is pull these up shortly, and we will probably put a winter crop of cabbages or broccoli, cauliflowers, Brussels sprouts, those sort of things down here. What we do is we plant the peas here during the main growing season, and they add nitrogen to the soil. This year's crop wasn't as good, and that indicates to me that I probably should have fed the soil a bit more, but we still got a nice harvest of peas.
Here I've taken out the last of the potatoes on this row, and so I'll just get it ready and maybe plant some Brussels sprouts or something. So they did quite well. The potatoes are much bigger than the ones up further, so it's all good. Yeah, the soil here is a bit better, so we'll just try and improve it. And whoops, where's the maintenance man when you want him? Alison put in these a while ago. They're hollyhocks and they're going really well. Looks like they're about to flower, so they should be lovely in a few days. And we've got the cornflowers over there, which have been flowering for weeks and weeks actually, along with a few weeds, but never mind. And we've got the larkspur here, so all very nicely coloured, etc. Make good cut flowers. And we love our cut flowers. So, there's a few dandelions in there amongst them. And lots of bees, which is great.
Okay, this bed here we've interspersed lettuce and some poppies. So the poppies bring in the bees as well, although the lettuces don't require the bees as such, not that I'm aware of.
We planted marigolds in here this year, and I think they've been really successful. We've hardly had any bugs in there. Normally we get lots and lots of bugs and slugs, etc. And this year hardly any. I've got all my basil in there, which I've actually dried. We had so much of, and I just use it as a powder on some of the tomatoes, etc. Along with fresh basil, which is good. So here we've got purple climbing beans, and they seem to be coming on quite nicely. We'll have them ready in a few days. And interspersed in here is our comfrey, which I snuck in, and also our kale. So it all looks rather promising for a nice meal.
Here's a hops plant that we've planted on the tripod here, or teepee, and it was only planted this year, and I notice it's starting to get a bit of fruit forming already. Normally it takes a year or so for them to find their legs.
And we have some commercial hops plant growers fairly close by, about an hour away, and I believe they pick them in the start of March, but obviously ours aren't ready.
We're about 2 weeks behind here, 2 or 3 weeks, because of our altitude, as I mentioned earlier, and a very short growing season.
This is our other hops plant. This was planted quite a few years ago, and so you can see the difference. It's got all those ready for maybe to make some beer for someone. I think they only put in a handful into a big barrel, but it's a beautiful plant actually, and it would normally go, I don't know how many meters up, how would they do?
I would say about 5 metres, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have another plant on the other side, which was put in a couple of years later. It's bushed up here because we haven't got the timber that high, but I would imagine it would climb to 4 or 5 metres easily.
I think so, if you look at the old photographs of them there down in Bushy Park.
As you can see, I've planted poles down the middle of, or on one side, down the middle of the main path. Eventually I'll have poles aligned with these on the other side of the path, and then we can grow all sorts of things over the top, including the hops.
Alison just made a wicking bed, we presume, and she's put in some celery in there and also kale, and I think we just put in some charred pieces that just to see if they'll grow. So the idea is to keep it a little bit more moist than normal and see what happens.
We have many ponds or dams on the property that we've mainly hand dug over the years, and we love the fact that as soon as you down tools, within 2 weeks or so you have the wildlife moving in, including the frogs. And the frogs are a great asset to the garden, so they help keep the slugs down and the bugs. Grasshoppers are our main problem here, although they've been very light this year, and I think it's probably because it hasn't been that dry. Well, not here anyway. Other parts of Tasmania are very dry.